So I got laid off yesterday. Well, I'm glad that I know how to read. I am getting my makeup trial done, and I was like having a hard time finding this place. And sometimes Google Maps thinks it's sending you in the right direction, and it just sends you into a dead-end road telling you you can still keep driving, but you can't. So that's where we're at right now. I just picked up coffee. I am, after the makeup trial, getting my Bachelorette weekend started, and so I'm feeling very bridey already. Wedding makeup trial, Bachelorette. But the reason I wanted to film and record before I go and get my face done is just to update you all. So I got laid off yesterday. Yeah. That's a pretty big update. I got laid off Wednesday, June 2nd, or Wednesday, August 2nd, which just so happens to be our 2-month wedding, court wedding anniversary. I don't know. Everybody's asking me, how are you feeling? Like, how do you feel? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine because I was not taken by surprise. Whereas I feel like if this is coming to you as a surprise and you have no idea what to expect, or to expect this, and you are blindsided by it, then yes, it's a shock and you're upset and you are caught by surprise. I feel like my intuition knew that I was gonna get laid off like a week before I did. But I also, since I don't know, I feel like layoffs aren't new in my household, as in me and Ari, because he's been laid off twice. And so I just know what to look for and what signs to think about or to consider in order to prepare for something like this. And so I had been for months now like, okay, maybe I should change how I'm doing things in order to prepare for the unexpected, in order to prepare for what is a vital, I don't know how to say that word.
Volatile.
What is a very, just not stable industry, like the tech industry. This isn't new. Layoffs are not new. It happens in every industry, but right now it has been hitting tech mostly and for a big chunk of time already. And so I knew taking a job at a tech company, being in the roles that I am, that there's no job security. There's no job security in any job, but like a tech job, But overall, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling optimistic. I just am proud of myself for all the things I've done up until this point to prepare myself to be financially okay if something like this were to happen. And so just wanted to jump on here and record that the backdrop to this Bachelorette is that, yes, I lost my job, but I'm so happy that I am spending a weekend with people that love me, with my friends, with my family, at my friend's upstate house that I love going to, that Ari and I have been going to since the beginning of our relationship. And so that brings me so much joy, just to be surrounded by people who don't care what I do for work, who have no idea what I do for work. And so that support system is really important. And I know people are still getting laid off and aren't in those positions where they feel like, okay, I can take the space to breathe. But if you did get laid off, like, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not personal. I made a video about what to do when you get laid off. And you know what? I've done most of those things, like preparing financially, but the whole posting on LinkedIn and starting this job search, I'm not there yet. I'm gonna take this weekend in. I haven't even been laid off. It's been 24 hours. It's been 24 hours as of recording this. But I'm gonna just take a breather. And I think you should also take some space to really understand what comes next. I'm rambling now, and I have to go and get my makeup done. So I'll talk to you later. I'm here with you. I'm with you on this. Let's go get my face done. Let's see what that looks like. I don't even have an example of when I want to get done. My sister's like, oh, do you know what kind of makeup you want? I'm like, absolutely not. We're back. And I got my makeup done. Can you tell? Yeah, you can definitely tell I was not wearing makeup before. Okay, so I just picked up ice at Stewart's, and I'm like 15 minutes away from my friend's house. I'm so excited! One, because Bachelorette, obviously, but number two, like, I drove here all by myself. And we've been coming, Ari and I have been coming to our friend's house since 2015, and never have I, like, been the one to drive, because I've always been so afraid of driving on the highway, of driving 2 hours. I mean, it was a shorter drive because I got my makeup done only an hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes away from here. But still, like, over an hour and a half, I've always been like, ugh. But I did it myself, and yeah, I am going to the upstate house by myself. No Ari. He wishes he could be here. She's in the driveway, bitches! Let's go! She's in the driveway on her. Oh, let's go! Coming for you, T. Before everyone's arrival, Tanya and I prepared the cheese board. Mostly Tanya made the lasagna. Kitchen basically clean at this point. Got set up. Just waiting for people to arrive. Yay! The hostess.
Ready for Danielle's batch.
I'm back from my Bachelorette weekend, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed. We had a tarot reader come and give us all readings, and of course, like, perfect timing for me to receive a tarot reading, because all the changes, all the shifts that are happening in life. Still drinking out of my bride cup, and I will be for until infinity, because you don't just buy something and use it once. But anyway, okay. So I wanted to follow up on just like the whole layoff situation and give some practical, what can I do if I think I might find myself in a position similar to mine. First, I want to talk about kind of the signs, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but it didn't come as a surprise to me. I kind of had not only my body telling me that something was going to happen, but I just had the feeling. And I had the feeling because I worked at a company that was very transparent about the situation of all things, right? And I really appreciated that about our culture at that company. And so it was kind of pretty clear that, okay, these signs are not looking too good. Not looking too good. So I kind of just want to share some general signs of potential layoffs coming. Not that like all of them were relevant for me, but we are not new to layoffs in this household. So this is the first time I'm experiencing it, but Ari has been laid off twice. And so we kind of pick up on signs. So the first, and I took notes. The first thing I think that is important to be aware of is like, has hiring frozen? Is it a hiring freeze? Are we taking away certain benefits, certain like, things that you were able to expense that you can no longer expense? These two things I feel like are a big sign, like, okay, they're trying to reduce their expenses. Just like individuals cut down on expenses that are unnecessary or non-essential to reduce their spending, so do companies. And so if you see that there are hiring freezes or, not backfilling certain positions and cutting some benefits and expenses, like that's one big sign that I think also is not one that you need to wait for people to tell you is happening, but one that you like just realize by being part of a company and a team who might have to fill a role for somebody that left but can't because the company's not hiring. Second thing I would say to look out for is like eliminating or deprioritizing certain programs or projects, like a refocus of the company strategy, right? If there are certain things that the company's like, well, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore because it's not going to generate revenue. And again, seems like a nice to have and not a must have to provide revenue, then let's not do it. I think that one is a big one because you start realizing that the company is thinking about, okay, what products and programs and what can we do to generate the money that we need, the revenue that we need to keep afloat. So that's a big one. That could mean layoffs. It also could mean like restructuring. It could be all of it. The third one I was thinking about was like, if the company already had layoffs, sure, this isn't always true, but if a company already had layoffs, then they're probably more okay doing layoffs again. If we look at Meta, Google, or Amazon, Microsoft, all those companies that have done layoffs, like there are multiple rounds. So a startup is not going to say, oh, I'm going to do one layoff and never again have to do it. If mega companies are doing them, then just know that it's more likely that they could feel like a layoff is necessary to do again. And not for nothing, but I also feel like, I hope, but I feel like people get desensitized from, okay, I did it once and it was hard, and like, yes, it's going to be hard to do it again, but like, I already did it once and like, it was okay, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just saying, like, you do it once, more likely to do it again. Just anything in life. The fourth one, I think, is, I wouldn't say hard to figure out, but if you ask the right questions, I think you can get a clear response. But this is just very simple. The company is not doing well. There is a limited revenue coming in, or like people in sales aren't hitting their goals, and that kind of dialogue I think is a big red flag. Huge. A company can only sustain for so long without hitting its targets. So that one is one to keep in mind, asking the right questions, like, what are the sales goals for this quarter? And then following up at the end of the quarter and saying, like, what were we able to hit and reach? So it definitely requires asking the right questions if your company isn't transparent about these numbers. But leave a comment if this is not how it's done at your company. But I've always worked at companies where we're talking about revenue goals and whether we've hit them or not. So that is a big one. That is a, not hitting it months at a time is not a good sign. And then one that I've seen in the past like few months with all of the discourse on LinkedIn about layoffs is this WARN Act. It stands for Worker Adjustment and Retrainer Notification Act. And this is essentially, I guess, a notice that the companies need to put out, companies of 100 or more employees need to put out to the government of like, we will be laying people off soon. I think they need to give notice. I don't know much about this, but I think I was also reading that it might not be really relevant for companies that are giving severance to their employees. And so for those companies that are giving severance, they might not need to submit a WARN Act. So that's just something to look into. I know I've been seeing a lot of like links to WARN Acts and looking for your company in them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But just to kind of close off, I am so glad that I have been taking my own advice these last few 6 months, not even few, these last 6 months. I mean, I made a video late last year, early this year. I'm going to link it up here, but it was like how to prepare for a layoff. You prepare, or rather it was how to prepare for a recession. And within a recession and with all that comes the possibility that companies do layoffs, right? And so I was able to move my 401k contributions to now savings account. So of course I stopped contributing to my 401k and shifted to my savings account, but now I have a beefed up savings account to withstand a situation like this. Of course, I don't want to have to use it because I don't want to have to use it, but at least that is there. I also, and you can probably tell by the containers we have in the back, that we are moving. And this was before I knew about the layoff. So Ari decided to leave his job in April. So he's been unemployed since April. And we've been living off of one paycheck, but really like we haven't been living off of one paycheck because Ari had his savings for his unemployment time. But with just Ari not having a job and me being the only one that did have a job at the time, we made the decision to move back to the basement, move back in with my now mother-in-law and my with my stepfather-in-law, my father-in-law. So we're gonna move back into the basement and we are gonna be not spending money on rent. And I love my apartment. Of course, I love this place, but we also, as a couple, made the decision before my layoff that we wanted to start buying real estate. We want to start real estate investing. We want to diversify where the streams of our income are coming from. And the biggest place that we're interested in exploring is real estate. And so that was something we were having conversations about in the last month or two. And so we made the decision to leave our Brooklyn apartment. And that is a big chunk that we're not going to be spending on rent anymore. So making decisions around your most costly expenses. Cutting down on coffee that you buy out every day isn't going to make a difference. What's going to make a difference is your big core 3 expenses: housing, transportation, and food. How are you spending on those 3? And is there a way that you can decrease your spending towards those categories? And so for us, we have significantly decreased our housing expenses when we move out of here. And yeah, these were all things that were in preparation for us to like help us build wealth faster through real estate investing. But now we are going to need to give ourselves some time to figure out what comes next after layoff. And I have a whole separate video on that, what to do after you've been laid off. And I want to say, I'm going to take my own advice, going to be posting on LinkedIn this week at some point.
Check.
Because yeah, I do want to take some time to think about like, what do I want to do next? But I want to put it out there to my network just so people can keep me in mind for opportunities. But yeah, that is this video, this news. It'll all be great. It'll all get figured out. You're here, you're following along with me, so more to come on how we manage creating a budget, a living budget with no income, and our savings in mind. So I will see you in the next video.